course, let's get started off thinking about good things, pleasant things that make us smile, things that make us laugh, things that make us feel good. All right, so as I'm about to get into shell work, I told y'all about this a few weeks ago, and shell work is body work, the outside. This body that we're in, we have to maintain it. We have to take care of it. We know that matters. But it's making me think about how sometimes we go and we approach relationships based off the shell. This is when we see that person that is so attractive to us, we want to get with them. Not because of anything that we know about them. We don't, we haven't even said anything to them. But the shell looks good. If it's a guy, maybe muscly, he may have muscles. He may be just the type that you like, tall, muscular, thin, and athletic. Whatever it is that is attractive to you visually, that's the shell that we'll be attracted to. If it's a woman, she may be very sensual looking, very has a nice figure, nice, and round, how guys are usually into the shape of a woman. She may be very pretty in the face, maybe look like a model or something like that. And so this is the shell that we are attracted to because visually it looks good to us. However, we have to go beyond the shell. And I think we know that in general. However, we still are attracted to the shell. And that can be, I guess, it can be something that we have to, actively not focus on sometimes, because sometimes if the shell looks really good and enticing, that's all we want to think about. However, we must find out more about who this person is and not just what the shell is showing us. Sometimes the shell doesn't reflect a person's insides, and so they can be beautiful on the outside. They can be just your type physically. They can look just beautiful to you on, whatever kind of scale that you have for yourself, because I think we all have some kind of scale that we put attractiveness on. However, we don't know anything about the inside, and so it's very, it's just not a good thing to go forward with, to just go by the shell. So how do we get beyond just looking at the shell? It's about waiting. It's funny to me because to me everything comes back down and around to waiting, because we really have to wait and see who this person is. I've heard stories that guys used to tell me of how, she doesn't sound like what she looks like. So they saw this attractive woman. She was fine to them. And they were trying to get her attention, trying to do everything to approach her in a crowded place, something like a mall or something like that. And they finally got to this woman, and she began to talk. And it was nothing like what they imagined she would sound like. All right, and so that's kind of like what we need to keep in mind when it comes to what a person looks like rather than who they are on the inside. Just because someone looks good on the outside doesn't mean that they're a good person. Just, it just doesn't reflect. It's like the saying, don't judge a book by its cover. You don't want to assume that because a person is very attractive to you that they're a good person. And I know personally that's not the case sometimes. So you can think somebody is very attractive, and then you get to know them, and you find out they're rude, they're not a nice person, they're mean, and they're somebody that you would never imagine, and I don't know how many years you would never imagine yourself with. But if you didn't get to know them and you went by only the shell, you would get with them in a second because of how they look. So it's important to get to know a person. Get to know a person with time. Yes, time. It does take time. How do they treat people? That's the main key of how we get to know what's on the inside of a person. Now, this is where dating comes in sometimes. If you do the traditional dating, when you're going out to restaurants and different places and different events and spending time with each other, how does that person treat other people? How do they treat the people that serve them? The cashiers and the waiters and the waitresses. How do they treat the women in their family if you're a woman dating a man? How does she treat the men in her life if you're a man dating a woman? These are indications, and these are ways to get an idea of how this person is, who this person is, and if they're good on the inside as well as the outside. Now, it takes a lot more than that, but that's one of the main things that will tell us what kind of person this person is. And if you can find out how they are without your presence, like, sometimes people, when they're being watched, when they know they're being watched, they'll act a certain way. But if they think nobody's around, that's where you really find out who they are, because when someone thinks no one is looking, that's when you get the reality of a person. And so it's kind of hard to find that out sometimes. However, if you're able to do that, that will give you a truer indication of who this person is. And so that's just one tip. But it does take time, of course, to find these things out. So don't go and judge people by what they appear on the outside, because it is true. You cannot judge a book by its cover. The cover could look dingy and unkept and raggedy, but then you read that book and it's the most awesome book you've ever read. Or vice versa. It can look like this awesome cover, which is, beautiful artwork and crisp and pristine and just beautiful. But then you read the book and you're like, what is this, right? And so that's true for people as well. And so don't go around judging a book by its cover. But since I'm talking about shell work, and that's the shell work we do on ourselves. It's important to maintain ourselves on the outside. Look out for notifications and different posts that I'm going to do about the shell work that I will be taking part of in the next few months to come. If you're on a journey and you want to get into shell work, and this particular shell work that I'm doing is to shed a few pounds, go ahead and pay attention to the notifications that are coming up. I'll leave a link to my latest video that's going to kind of detail and give you a roundabout about what will be going on in the next few months. And if you want to join me in that, come on and join me. All right, so that's all I have for you right now. I hope everybody out there is well and not judging people by what they look like. All right. All right, y'all. So until next time, love and gratitude.